Someone called my phone. Somehow it froze my YouTube. Then I tried again, and then I had customers. So now it's almost past 6. I've locked the door, but obviously someone can still call me. So I thought I'd make this video. This video would be about, let me just put you guys on this tripod contraption thing that I have. This video, I thought I'd explain, motors, and how motors are actually serviceable and fixable and so on and so on and so on. So, if you look at this motor, I just rebuilt this motor, right? This is the Type R, so it's a high revving engine. You get a Type T, which is this one. That's more torque engine for coming out of corners, that kind of thing. But all motors have their limitations, right? If you start revving these things to 100,000 RPM and then slapping the e-brake on, hey Jeff from Hawaii, Ohio, sorry. Anyway, Jeff, what I'm talking about is just motors. If you rev these motors super hard, smack the e-brake on, and then rip them back onto boost, they snap the com off. So I'll show you a damaged one. There, it's supposed to have, they're magnetic. Anyway, it's supposed to have this part. As you can see, it snapped it right off. This is a different make of motor. Oh, reverse polarity. Holy shit, I can't get it together. Anyway, that one's also snapped off. Come on, focus camera, be nice. Anyway, you get the idea. So yeah, 100,000 RPMs, e-brake back on, e-brake back on. It snaps it right off. And the thing is, when it snaps it off, obviously your pinion will go flying, and then sometimes it rips. I'll show you the spur gear on this one. I obviously need to change the spur gear, but it destroys. Let me find it. There's a big chunk here, my thumb. It chunked it off. And then, where else did it hit? It hit, I think it hit the top of his body and then to the ground, that kind of deal. And then went spinning on the track. So, the rad thing is, you have a motor like this, or maybe a R1 Works, right? Or maybe, a hobby wing. You can disassemble it and then rebuild it, okay? Now, some of them, you might not have broken the commutator that sits inside here, but you fried or overheated it so much that it'll start melting the inside right there. See how it melted there? Or you'll melt the sensor board. I don't think this one's melted. I'm not 100% sure. But that's your sensor board. Now, if you can imagine, this little com here rotates right here. This is the hobby wing commutator. So if it's rotating here, it's almost like a trigger system on a car where it's got a trigger wheel, right? And one of those trigger fingers would have a magnetic point to it. So when they spin past the trigger and the magnetic one comes by, it knows where the cam is or your crank is, depending on companies. Different companies did it differently than other. But that's how it knows when to spark and so forth, and the fuel injection and stuff like that. It all runs off that same system. Well, very similar here. This sensor here tells your ESC where your revs are, when it can boost, or how much timing you run, and it can advance or retard the timing. So if this sensor feels that you're running too hot, it'll almost retard the motor so it runs less RPM, and then bring the heat down, and then it advances back up again. So the cool thing is you can replace that. I haven't found any of these available to the public. And I'm sure they're out there. I just got to find the source for it. And obviously there's so many different motor companies that, you know, you got to find the right one for the right application, and so on and so on. Yeah. So that specific sensor that I had here, this is a Yokomo sensor, you know. So that's one thing you can, you know, look at and see if it's okay or not. Now the can, you can pull the windings out of the can, right? Now the turn that everybody, well, nowadays it's all kV, kV, kV. Well, it still turns. So back then, it used to mean how many of these copper wires are turned around these 3 poles, right? There's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and that's how they figured it out back then. So the less windings you had around this, the less turns you had, the faster it would rev up, but it would have less torque. Okay? And then vice versa. The more windings you had, the more torque you had, but the less RPMs you had. Well, I'm not sure if that still counts. I'm sure it still does. But obviously kilovolts now have changed the name from turn to kilovolt. Anyway, so there's that part. And then inside, right in there, there's a bearing, right? And now I gotta find you a com that's in one piece. Here we go. If I can separate these suckers. There you go. I kind of need to place everybody away from one another, otherwise they're magnetized together. Anyway, so you would have this little brass guy here that would sit on top there. It has a little flex washer here. See that little bump? Which means it's kind of like a little bit of a shock absorber, right? You can kind of push down on it. And that dude will fall off while you try and put it in. That dude will push against the bearing, right? And there she sits. So if you look nice and carefully, there's the brass shim with the washer, and then the commutator sitting in there. Yeah, and that should spin super freely, right? Okay, so then the back end will also have a little shim. It's usually an aluminum shim. Yeah, come here, you. That dude would sit on the back of the motor. No spring washer, nothing like that. And then your sensor has a bearing in it, and that would sit on top of that. Right, that would also be a free spinning type of deal. So this specific motor, obviously, these are what I recommend for the bad boys that have money and stuff like that, that are willing to, you know, upgrade to something that is high performance. This one, specifically the DX1s, have a ton of ventilation. So it's, you gotta drive like a monkey to get it hot. But the problem with that is, if you go drive this sucker outside, all the dust and junk will go in here. right? So you almost need to service it. You need to take care of it. You need to vacuum it out, right? If you vacuum into these holes and rotate your motor, it'll get all the junk out of here. A little bit of oil on that bearing never hurt nobody. And if you want to go that far, you know, take the rear cap of your motor off, which is 2 pieces. This plate obviously sits over your sensor board to protect it, right? So it's like that. But in turn, that, oh my goodness, come on. That guy sits there. This guy goes over it. Like that. And then this little plate obviously sits over the sensor board, and it has 3 screws holding it. So if you undo these 3 screws, you can actually adjust the timing, right? There's the arrow, there's the timing. That means you can manually advance or retard the timing. So you kind of get the idea. That's a motor without that inside of it, right? This obviously sits in here. The magnet rotates inside of this. And there you go, right? If you can imagine, I does the timing in a motor do. I does the timing in the motor do, and then what does the timing in the motor do? So the timing, if you can imagine, it's almost like a power band or a VTEC within a car, right? So you can make it rev up more earlier or later, right? But it's not like a boost. It's not a curve, right? It's more like, instead of, hey, Al, Ontario, Canada. I wish I could come to Ontario, by the way, and the rest of Canada, and then I'll start traveling the world again. So yeah, timing is like a car, right? But not essentially the same. How would I explain it, man? It's adding power, right? Let's say you have 100% power, but you want a little bit more to be faster down the main straight. You add a little timing, right? Or you want it to be more a revvy motor, then you add some timing. If it's revving too much and it's overheating and it's going crazy, then make the timing less. Anyway, that's timing. And then boost, which I'll show you guys in a minute here, because I obviously want to tune this vehicle that's sitting right next to me. But you guys get the idea, right? This one has got a burnt winding, so it's damaged. It's terribly damaged. I'll show you another one. Look how dark it is. Man, I need a flashlight or something. But anyway, this is burnt all in here. Heat. Heat is our worst enemy. Heat, and more heat, right? Same as a normal brushed motor, which I have one laying here. I should have opened this for you guys to show you. Let me just put these guys where the magnets won't rip them around. Anyway, this is a brand new motor. Brand new. Okay? Why don't you say, hey, Afro? Why would I have to be a Buddha? Anyway, crawler motor. This one, yeah. This one is a crawler motor. It's brushed on boost turbo, but didn't really know much about the timing in the motor itself. Yeah, I'll show you guys how that works in a second here. This, brand new, got super hot, so hot that in this motor, in the back here, you can see this little brass guy sticking out here. So this is essentially a spring pushing a brush against the commutator, right? This is the old school brushed motors, right? This thing got so hot that it melted this side spring and brush right off, right? So essentially, if you look in here, this guy is spring-loaded right there, right? And that pushes against this. Now, this is the old school way of looking at turns. 21 turn. 550 is just the size of the can, right? The outside circumference. The length, obviously, is different to that length. It's a little longer, right? Because what they did is they have an internal fan in this one. So it supposedly cools it down. Doesn't work that good. Anyway. But yeah, if you look in there, you can even see it's a little... Fuck, man. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if you guys can see the burnt in the inside there. I wish I had a little flashlight so I could shine through it. But I'm using my... Well, maybe this guy. Oh, yeah. This guy will work. Let me just... Sorry for the shaky camera. This is my camera light, if I need it. So, if I shine in here... shit. Sorry, guys. Who knows? There. It's more visible now, I think. Oh my God, man, now I'm blinding myself. Anyway, there, you can kind of see it's burnt there. Oh yeah, here we go. Anyway, whatever. Enough of the light. So, and then, you know, even the little commentator will show signs of heat. Like if you look at this stuff right here, that's because of heat. Yeah, this sucker got hyper hot. Anyway, all fixable. So this guy over here, wow, is a rebuilt motor. So what I do is I get a fresh commutator in and I throw it in there and then bolt it back together and plug the sensor wire back on, and then I can test it. So I obviously got to throw this back into the chassis, which is what I'll do real quick, and then do the motor, or the pinion lash. Make sure that's all perfectly good. And then put the Wi-Fi module on it and tune it real quick and detune the bad boy because it's too much, man. Too much. A lot of people think they know what they're doing and then they amp up the boost super high and then, you know, drive it super hard and then stuff goes wrong. This kid showed promise. I thought he had it under control, and then, yeah, he, for some reason, on his radio, pumped up the boost, and yeah, Bob's your uncle. It went all wrong from there. So this is a 29 tooth pinion, 48 pitch. Don't need anything more than that. Like 30, 31 to 28, that's what we usually use on our cars. Yep. Super simple. Take a piece of paper, any old paper, just regular paper. No, my friend, I don't have any Sakura in. I haven't had any requests here locally. So I haven't seen the need to get any of them in. I really want to get myself one, right? And then drive the crap out of it and make sure it's perfect and figure out exactly the settings for it. And then I'll start making them available and obviously make the information available to make it drive properly. That's usually the way I do it. That's why I got an MST and drove it for about a month before I made it available on my online shop, just to make sure it's good. All right, what do we have? Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so this is a Yokomo ESC. That's my wireless for the Yokomo ESC. It's the BLWM wireless unit, right? So we'll put some power to that. We'll switch his radio on. We'll put a piece of foam under it so she doesn't go flying. All right, radio's on. We'll switch that on. Bring you guys a little closer. That's a little too close. All right. So that's all up and going. And now I'll go on my giant block here. First thing you gotta do is go to settings and then go to your Wi-Fi. And then, try and find the sucker. Is that thing lit up? No, not lit up. That's not good. Okay, let me see why it's not lit up. Because I have it plugged in wrong. Smart. There you go, it lit up. Good to go. Now we'll go back here. And there it is right there. Whoops. There it is right there. I'll hit that. It'll bump onto that one. It says it's on there. Weak security. Ooh. It's okay, Apple. And then we'll go to the app, which is just that BLWM. We'll hit it. When it comes to this screen, you hit it again. We'll do the rotating thing, and then everything will pop up. I don't even update my stuff. I don't even care. I go to settings. I'll move this car away a little bit. So this is obviously the settings that I have in there already, but I'll show you. I usually obviously battery type, and then cutoff voltage, direction is normal, 2-pole. I don't worry about gear ratio or wheel size. BEC voltage, I usually give it full voltage. Sorry, I'm out of frame. But yeah, I usually don't worry about any of this. These three here, I don't care for. I usually just do the voltage. And yeah, if I've soldered it on wrong, I usually rotate that or reverse it. And then BEC, I usually make 7.4, right? And then I leave the cutoff temperatures, and hopefully I've soldered it on properly, right? ABC. Then throttle, I usually amp that up to 8, acceleration to 8, start power, I don't really worry about that too much. The current limit, I don't care, current limit, don't care. Neutral width, that's the dead spot within the trigger. I don't mess with it. Then 3-tap for reverse, because we're on e-brake quite a bit. And then your reverse delay is 2.5 seconds, and then I make the reverse amount only 50, because you don't have to have full blast reverse. And then on brake response, 50%. We don't have ABS, we don't have drag brake. Minimal, 30, maximum, full blast. And then mid, I don't really mess with these. I just go to the hard brake. The hard brake down here, definitely. Then at frequency, I don't care for. Boost. So, your boost on your throttle curve is usually what I use. So I give it max throttle, and I leave the minimum alone. And then turbo delay, 20 seconds. So I'll move this up, way up, to like 60, right? Because and I'll minimize this right here, all this stuff here. But the turbo delay, I'm delaying the shear bit out of it now. And then I'll go in here, and I'll make this turbo a lot less, right? A lot less. 10. Okay? And then I'll go okay, and I'll save it. You have to save everything you do. Otherwise it won't tell the computer that that's your what you want. So let's see. So yeah, that sounds good. I'll make this maximum a lot less. So I'll make it 40. I'll make it 35. 5 down from that. 5 down from that. And then 5 down from that. All right, so there you go. There's all of that. I'll save that. And then, so all I got to do now is look at it live, right? It's still 100. So the RPM is still too much. So I'll go back to settings, go to boost, and I'll go and tune this amount here. Yeah, well, oop. Okay, and I'll save that. And we'll go back here to this, and we can stop that. So still 100 thou. Yeah, it's still too aggressive. Don't like it. We'll go in here, and then I'll delay his turbo even more. 70, and I'll turn this down even more. 5, I'll make this 10. Whoop, wrong way. I'll make that 15. I'll make that, oh, come on. Make that 20. And that, I'll give him a little ramp to 30. Okay, let's save that. Go live. Okay, so now it's almost like it's not working together, right? So that's all we're gonna do. Just go back here, switch this bad boy off, take this guy out, right? Switch this bad boy on. Let's see. Still super aggressive. What's going on? Let's see here. Why are you still being a tough guy? Lights on. So I gotta go to settings again. And it says it's on there. Go back here. Oh, this is also a thing. You have to back out of that app. All right, so it's linked there. Now open the app again. And now it's linked. And it's up. We look at the settings. Go straight to boost. I'll even delay it more. And I'll make that even less. And I'll make that even less. What I didn't do is I didn't bring down his boost. That's what I should have done. Silly boy. So I'll give him all the revs back. I messed up. I never took his boost down. That's what I should have done. And we'll save it. So I'll bring his boost down even more. There, 15. But I'll let him use it a little earlier. 55. That's more acceptable, I think. Right? It doesn't rev to the heaven. It gives him a little boost. We can give him that little boost earlier. 30 seconds, I think. We'll save that. That's more acceptable. Sweet. Now let's look at it live. So now it says 85,000 RPM. That's more acceptable for sure. So 73,000 RPM. I think that's better. Right? Here's the RPM gauge here, milliamp hours here, the current, obviously the amperage, and then your voltage. So here we go. There you go. All right. Anyway, guys, that's all she wrote. I'm gonna bail. Sorry for earlier. It sucks. I have to go. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace. Thanks, Art. Take it easy. I'll definitely make more videos like this. Yeah. Anything you guys want, let me know. Comment down below. Share with your buddies, all that good shit. Peace. I'm out of here. Peace.